The world is a stage of ancient places that spark fascination. Cities and structures lost over centuries, until their rediscovery. Their locations in remote areas kept them hidden or known only to locals. Nature overtook many of them, overrun by vegetation. They often appear in unexpected corners. Others are millennia-old sites, only visible from the air. Next, we will unveil amazing sites of ancient civilizations. We'll also explore extraordinary discoveries, yet to be determined if they are natural formations or human creations. Tayuna, Colombia. For centuries, the Colombian jungle hid a lost city. Situated in an isolated area with dense, humid vegetation. The only way to reach this archaeological treasure is on foot, walking for several days through the jungle. It was rediscovered in 1972 when treasure hunters stumbled upon a series of stone platforms. This is the lost city, or Tayuna, an ancient settlement of the Terona people. Built atop a mountain about 1,300 years ago, it may have been home to thousands. It consists of a series of stone terraces carved into the mountain slope, connected by a network of paths. Sigiriya, Sri Lanka. Erected on a granite rock, this relic from the past rises above the jungle's thickness. In 1831, the Briton Jonathan Forbes spotted its bush-covered summit from afar. It's believed that King Kasyapa chose this rock as his fortress for its strategic location. To reach the top, one must pass through gigantic stone claws. Afterward, narrow staircases must be ascended. At the summit, the ruins of the palace can be seen. Its gardens, with pools, are considered among the oldest in the world. Buddha of Xiashui, China. In the mountains of the Chinese village of Xiashui lies one of Asia's lesser-known mysteries. In 2001, the local government rediscovered this Buddha face, still partially hidden by the forest. It is the largest stone-carved Buddha head in the world. Unlike the famous giant Buddha of Leshan, not much is known about it. Carving began in the rock, but after 1,000 years, it was never completed. Machu Picchu, Peru. This ancient fortress of Inca origin is located in the Peruvian Andes. Set in a stunning environment, it exudes a mystical aura, often shrouded in mist. In 1911, American Hiram Bingham and his team explored the Urubamba Valley. Augustin Lizarraga, a local farmer who had visited the ruins years earlier, informed them about it. Machu Picchu includes temples, palaces, and irrigation systems created with sophisticated engineering techniques. There are no Inca records about this ancient city, so its exact purpose remains unknown. It is believed to have been abandoned before or during the Spanish conquest of Peru, but the exact reasons are still unclear. Petra, Jordan. Through this canyon, one reaches one of the Middle East's archaeological treasures. It was a thriving city, the capital of the Nabatean Kingdom, an ancient Arab people. They adapted to this harsh terrain with sturdy constructions in the mountain rocks. Despite its desert location, Petra once had a water management system and agricultural crops. In the 6th century, the city became uninhabited and wasn't rediscovered until 1812 by Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt. Hegra, Saudi Arabia. Following the discovery of Petra, English traveler Charles Montague heard of a similar place. He reached these ruins in 1876, documenting the visit in his diary, titled Travels in Arabia Deserta. Also known as Mada in Salah, Hegra was the second largest city of the Nabatean kingdom, after Petra. The surrounding rocks were used to create these splendid tombs. They belonged to individuals of various social ranks, some of them military. Due to its isolation and desert conditions, they have been extraordinarily well preserved. Nazca Lines, Peru. Archaeologist Toribio Mejia spotted these limes in 1927 while traversing the area, though it's possible that Peruvian pilots had seen them earlier. They were created by the Nazca, an ancient Peruvian culture. They consist of figures and straight lines sprawling across vast areas. Some can be glimpsed from the hills, but their full shape is only visible from the air. One of the most precise figures is the hummingbird, which, despite its name, could represent another local bird. It might symbolize an Andean condor, a species native to this region. The spider, with its extended legs, highlights the creator's ability to maintain exact proportions on such a large scale. The spiral has a simple and enigmatic design, similar to those found in the lost cities of the Amazon shown later. And, for many, the most mysterious figure, the so-called astronaut. Pulpa geoglyphs, Peru. First observed by Julio Cesar Taeo in 1926, these geoglyphs lack the fame of the Nazca lines, but are equally fascinating. Some belong to the Nazca, but most were created by the ancient Paracas and Tapara cultures. In contrast to the Nazca lines, these geoglyphs are often drawn on hillsides. Some resemble animals. Others depict people or mythical beings. To the northwest, on the coast, lies the Paracas candelabra, best seen from the sea. The reason for its creation is unclear, though it might have served as a signal for sailors. Tikal, Guatemala. This ancient city thrived about 1,500 years ago. It became one of the most powerful political, economic, and military centers of the Maya. Located in the Maya Biosphere Reserve, Guatemala's largest protected natural area. Due to its isolation, the ruins weren't explored until 1848, when regional leaders reached them. The first photos, taken in 1882, show Tikal still engulfed in jungle thickness. Among plazas, acropolises, and great pyramids, the city boasts thousands of structures. At the tops of several pyramids, temples rise where religious rituals were conducted. Despite its grandeur, Tikal was eventually abandoned around 11 centuries ago, when Maya society collapsed. Göbekli Tepe, Turkey. Considered one of the most significant and mysterious discoveries in modern archaeology, this prehistoric site was discovered in 1963. But excavations by archaeologist Klaus Schmidt didn't begin until 1995. It is one of the oldest stone complexes, around 12,000 years old, predating the Egyptian pyramids. This estimated construction date has challenged conventional theories about human history. According to these theories, humans at the time were hunter-gatherers, incapable of creating complex structures. However, the pillars and the precision of the reliefs suggest that their builders possessed advanced construction skills. The carvings depict animals with symbolic meanings that are still not fully understood. For unknown reasons, the sanctuary was buried, preserving it intact until its modern discovery. Karahan Tepe, Turkey. Discovered in 1997, it is located a short distance from the renowned Göbekli Tepe. It was built by hunter-gatherers before the advent of pottery or sedentary agriculture. Dating between 11,000 and 13,000 years old, it might be the oldest known settlement. The monumental stone pillars indicate the involvement of specialized craftsmen. The reliefs and sculptures might be related to religious rituals. Lost cities of the Amazon, Ecuador. Focused on other civilizations and cultures, archaeology has barely explored this vast jungle. The density of the vegetation makes access difficult, and the tree canopies prevent the observation of possible archaeological remains. Despite this, in the western Amazon region in Ecuador's Upano Valley, one of history's most surprising discoveries was made. In 2024, archaeologist Stephen Rostein's team reported the discovery of a series of ancient cities, inhabited from about 2,500 years ago to 1,500 years ago. Hundreds of structures like these remain hidden under the vegetation, making the existence of undiscovered archaeological wonders possible. However, we have recorded much more substantial evidence of these lost cities, belonging to the Upano culture. The exact purpose of this construction remains unknown, though some have identified it as a place where women gave birth. Most astonishing are the carvings found at various points of this Amazon area. One of the strangest is this elongated figure, which could represent a spirit, or a yachik, the community's spiritual guide. There are hundreds of these petroglyphs. Their interpretation is complex, with possible functions ranging from decorative to ritual. Each figure might contain a unique meaning, or collectively, they could communicate a unified message. Some symbols seem to represent animals or mystical beings. Others resemble some kind of object or element related to cultural practices. This spiral, engraved on numerous rocks in the Amazon and other parts of South America, might symbolize a deity, a snail, or a hurricane. It is believed that the eruption of the Sangay volcano, located within the Amazon basin, might have caused the collapse of this culture. It has been active for centuries, known for its explosiveness among Ecuadorian indigenous peoples. The settlements were abruptly abandoned, possibly due to violent eruptions or smaller but repeated ones. Angkor, Cambodia. Temples of the Khmer Empire, hidden for centuries in the jungle, have been rediscovered in this Cambodian region. Angkor Wat, brought to light by Henry Muhat in 1860, is one of the largest religious buildings in the world. It began as a Hindu sanctuary for the god Vishnu, gradually transforming into a Buddhist temple. In Tampron, another temple of Angkor, the jungle has been reclaiming its space. Enormous trees like ficus have sprouted among the ruins, blending architecture with nature. Close by is the Bayon Temple, the last completed sanctuary in Angkor. The smiles of its hundreds of faces are mesmerizing. They could symbolize Buddhist deities, or perhaps King Jayavarman VII. Lamani, Belize. This is one of the few Maya settlements that was continuously occupied, from about 3,500 years ago until the 17th century. It remained lost in the jungle until 1917, when it was explored by Thomas Gunn, a British doctor and archaeologist. It is often accessed by boat due to the dense vegetation surrounding the area. The Jaguar Temple, one of Lamani's main buildings, is one of the most impressive constructions of the Maya culture. At its base, flanking the staircase, are two large masks. These are believed to embody Maya gods protecting the city. Sacsayhuaman, Peru. Here, the magnitude of Inca architecture and engineering is most clearly revealed. It might have been a temple to the sun god, or a military fortress. Pedro Sancho de la Hoz, a Spanish historian, was the first to describe it after arriving in Cusco in 1533. The most astonishing feature is the construction technique used by the Incas. The walls are composed of massive heavy stone blocks. Each was carved with such precision that they fit perfectly together. It is believed they were first shaped in the quarries and then worked on at the final site. Nan Madol, Federated States of Micronesia. It was the capital of the Sadaler dynasty, located off the eastern coast of Pohnpei Island. John Stanislaw, a Polish oceanographer, documented it in 1874, and some have claimed it is the remnants of the lost continent of Lemuria. It is a unique case of a city built in the middle of the ocean, on a collection of artificial islands connected by canals. Thus, it earns the nickname Venice of the Pacific, or the eighth wonder of the world. The islets were created by piling up large stones on coral reefs. At its peak, it is estimated to have housed around 1,000 inhabitants. Yonaguni Structures, Japan. Off the shores of Yonaguni Island lies one of Japan's mysteries. These underwater structures have been dubbed the Japanese Atlantis by some. Discovered in 1986 by a group of divers, they sparked intense debate. Their apparent geometric design suggests human intervention. Several areas display what appear to be steps with smooth walls. Some believe they are evidence of human construction, while others see them as natural formations. The surrounding rock formations are one argument for those defending their natural origins. Mahabalipuram, India. In the 1880s, British archaeologist Alexander Rea began studying the ruins of this enigmatic city. It belonged to the Pallava dynasty from the 7th century, though it might have been inhabited for millennia, having been devastated by natural phenomena. Legend tells of 7 magnificent temples, which incited the jealousy of Indra, the storm deity. The goddess caused all but the shore temple to sink, leaving it at the edge of the sea. This myth might originate from a tsunami that ravaged the coast, engulfing parts of the ancient city. Indeed, after the 2004 tsunami, various ruins emerged that could have been the ancient Mahabalipuram. The site preserves shrines, reliefs, caves, and stone sculptures. The structures are enriched with masterful creations of ancient Indian art. On one of the city's slopes remains Krishna's butter ball, intact. Some find it unlikely that natural processes caused this unusual position, but others consider it possible. According to the latter, friction prevents the rock from slipping, and its center of gravity helps it stay balanced in a small space. Pyramids of Guatemala, Ecuador. Finding pyramids in these Andean mountains is unexpected. This is one of South America's lesser-known archaeological sites, belonging to the Kitu Kara culture. Since the 1970s, archaeological studies have been conducted, but the region remains little explored and excavated. These pyramids are estimated to be about 3,500 years old, and the area was home to thousands of people. They had ceremonial uses or served as tombs. Some might have been used as platforms to build residences for the community's elite. Parang, China. This city was the capital of the Guga Kingdom from the 10th to the 17th century. Its location is striking. It was built on a pyramid-shaped rock, featuring multiple tunnels. Portuguese missionaries arrived in 1624, searching for supposed Christian cities beyond the Himalayas. Some believe Ta Proang inspired the legend of Shangri-La, a hidden and internally happy kingdom. Due to its inaccessibility, it has undergone few archaeological excavations. Derinkuyu, Turkey. For about 2,700 years, this underground city served as a refuge from invaders. It was rediscovered in 1963, when a local resident found a room behind a wall in his house. It is the deepest and largest of the underground cities in this Turkish region, estimated to have housed up to 20,000 people. There are rooms, stables, churches, wineries, and wells across 18 underground levels. Its ventilation system brought fresh air to the deepest sectors. Petroglyphs and pictographs of Utah, United States. This state has been home to various cultures that used rock art to express their religious beliefs. In 9 Mile Canyon, the petroglyphs of the Fremont culture predominate, whose inhabitants occupied the area until about 700 years ago. These sites were discovered by indigenous peoples who still endure, such as the Navajo and the Ute. In Canyonlands National Park, there are other carvings, different from those of the Fremont people, and also from the Anasazi. They might represent ceremonies or spiritual leaders. However, the exact meaning of many of them remains unknown. In Mill Creek Canyon, there are other petroglyphs in the form of warriors or mythical beings. A strange appearance is found in the engravings of Sago Canyon, also in Utah. They are at least 1,300 years old. These are large and unsettling anthropomorphic figures. They are recognized by their hollow eyes, elongated bodies, and lack of arms and legs. It is widely believed that they represent shamanic visions or supernatural beings. Temple of Dendera, Egypt. Dedicated to Hathor, the goddess of love, it is one of the best preserved temples from ancient Egypt. Travelers began to arrive around 1840, but by 1880, it was still mostly buried. Here lie some of Egypt's most controversial and intriguing artifacts. The part that captures the most attention is the Hippo-style hall. It is supported by large columns with elaborate capitals, each carved with Hathor's face. The column and the ceiling are adorned with complex bas-relief and detailed paintings. The hieroglyphic inscriptions are fascinating, narrating myths related to the gods. Nearby is the Dendera zodiac, a celestial map linking ancient Egypt with astronomy. Descending into an underground crypt, the so-called Dendera light is revealed. It depicts a snake emerging from something resembling a ball, leading some to think they are electric lamps. However, Egyptologists assert that these reliefs are part of Egyptian mythology. The snake would be Harsomtos, the god of creation, and the bulb, a lotus flower, symbolizing birth. Kabal Speen, Cambodia. Called the Valley of 1,000 Lingas, it is an archaeological site of the Khmer Empire discovered in 1969 by French ethnologist Jean Poulbet. Carvings showing Hindu mythological scenes, focusing on the god Shiva, are observed along the river's course. They date back to the reign of King Udayaditya Varman II, who altered the river's course to carve the lingas into its bed. At that time, it was believed that these symbols endowed the water with fertility, benefiting the downstream rice fields. Teotihuacan, Mexico. These are the remains of a pre-Hispanic city in the Valley of Mexico, preceding the Mexicas and Mayas. There are still debates about who the Teotihuacanos were and why this city was abandoned. Upon discovering it, the ancient Mexicas were so impressed that they believed it was of divine creation. The Avenue of the Dead is the main road that runs through the ruins. The Pyramid of the Sun, on the east side of the avenue, is the largest structure, likely dedicated to a deity related to the sun or creation. At the northern end is the Pyramid of the Moon, possibly a sanctuary for religious practices. This arrangement might reflect Teotihuacan mythology, or be related to astronomical events. Ellora Caves, India. These caves form a complex of temples carved out of solid rock, built from the 6th century onward. From the 9th century, they were visited by Buddhist monks, and from the 17th century by European travelers. Their development spanned 5 centuries under dynasties, such as the Rashtrakuta and Yadava. Each cave was sculpted directly into the rock, creating massive architectural edifices. They are adorned with elaborate reliefs featuring religious iconography and life-sized statues. Mount Nemrut, Turkey. This archaeological site rests atop one of the highest mountains in eastern Anatolia. Its colossal stone heads, dating back about 2,000 years, were erected by King Antiochus I of Commagene. They represent the monarch and various divine figures, including Zeus and Apollo. Originally, they were part of seated statues, inscribed with the names of gods. It is suspected that the king is buried beneath the tumulus, but excavations have yet to locate the burial chamber. Pisac, Peru. Situated atop a mountain, it is one of the most remarkable archaeological sites in the sacred valley of the Incas. This civilization adapted to the mountainous and high-altitude environment. Incan agricultural terraces were constructed on steep slopes, on the edge of cliffs. This design captured meltwater and rain, directing it through the different levels. Each terrace has a unique microclimate, allowing for the cultivation of crops ranging from corn and potatoes to subtropical plants. Blythe, Intaglios, United States. The sparse rainfall and lack of vegetation in the Colorado Desert have helped preserve these figures for centuries. Created by scraping away layers of rock, they are estimated to be between 450 and 2,000 years old. What is most remarkable is that they are best seen from the air. In fact, they were discovered in 1931 by a local pilot. The reason for their creation remains unknown. The most significant are the anthropomorphic figures, but there are also depictions of animals and spirits. Calakmul, Mexico. Although loggers had visited it earlier, its official discovery occurred in 1931, when American biologist Cyrus Longworth spotted it while flying over it. In its heyday, in the 7th century, it emerged as one of the most formidable city-states of the Mayans, challenging Tikul's supremacy. It is believed to have belonged to a Maya group called the Kingdom of the Serpent. Its main pyramid remains almost hidden by jungle vegetation. Pinara, Turkey. This city held a prominent place in the ancient Lycian state. Its extraordinary tombs were carved into the cliff faces. Their position suggests a desire to assist the deceased in their journey to the afterlife. To the south, near the village of Kas, lies the most astonishing Lycian tomb. Precisely hewn in the center of a vertical cliff. Abu Simbel, Egypt. This site comprises a pair of monumental temples, erected during the reign of Ramses II, about 3,300 years ago. When discovered in 1813 by Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt. They were mostly buried under the sand. The larger temple is dedicated to Ramses II, along with the gods Ra-Horakhti, Ptah, and Amun. The smaller temple is dedicated to Queen Nefertari and the goddess Hathor. In the 1960s, the temples were relocated to protect them from being submerged under Lake Nasser, formed after the construction of the Aswan High Dam. Pyramids of Meroe, Sudan. These were established as part of the cemetery of the imperial city of Meroe, the capital of the Kingdom of Kush. They were used for both kings and queens, indicating a society where women held significant status. One of the first Europeans to find them was the Italian treasure hunter Giuseppe Ferlini in 1834. In his search for relics, however, he partially destroyed many of them. Gunung Padang, Indonesia. Some consider this megalithic site to be the world's oldest pyramid. Discovered by a Dutchman in 1914, it remained forgotten until 1979 when local farmers reported the existence of ruins. Its age, potentially exceeding 10,000 years, would position it as one of the oldest constructions in the world. Although it is in a tropical climate zone that rapidly weathers stone, it has managed to remain relatively well preserved. Great Pyramid of Cholula, Mexico. What lies beneath this church is the world's largest pyramid by volume. When discovered in 1519 by the Spanish monk Toribio de Benavente, it appeared much like it does today, covered in vegetation. Later, in 1594, a Catholic temple was built on its summit. The original architects of the Great Pyramid began their work about 2,300 years ago, with expansions by the Toltec and Choluteca peoples. Valley of the Kings, Egypt. Situated in a desert area, surrounded by rocky mountains. This valley houses the tombs of various pharaohs of ancient Egypt, such as Ramses II and Seti I. In 1799, participants of Napoleon's campaign in Egypt created maps of the tombs. They are adorned with bas-reliefs and murals designed to guide the pharaoh's spirit in the afterlife. These illustrations depict episodes from the pharaoh's life, deities, or sacred texts, like the Book of the Dead. The most famous discovery in the valley is undoubtedly Tutankhamun's tomb, KV 62. After years of exploration, it was discovered in 1922 by British archaeologist Howard Carter. It is said that upon entering, Carter raised a candle, and its light reflected off the golden objects. This was an unprecedented event, as the sarcophagus and burial treasures were found intact. Today, many of these objects are displayed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Including his famous death mask, one of the few artworks that has endured unaltered for millennia. Bagan, Myanmar. This ancient city was the capital of Pagan, the initial kingdom that united what is now Myanmar. After its decline and subsequent abandonment, it remained hidden until 1855, when Scottish engineer Henry Yule wrote about it. During its peak, between the 11th and 13th centuries, thousands of Buddhist shrines were erected. The abundance of pagodas and temples makes it a fascinating and spiritual place. Despite the centuries that have passed, it remains a center of Buddhist practices, with monks and pilgrims present. Tiwanaku, Bolivia. This was the center of one of the most ancient civilizations in South America, with a history spanning 25 centuries. Located near Lake Titicaca, it was discovered by Spanish chronicler Pedro Cieza in the 16th century. It remains uncertain how they raised these gigantic monoliths, considering they did not use wheels or draft animals. Around the year 1000, the city collapsed for unknown reasons and was abandoned. Pompeii, Italy. While excavating an aqueduct in 1592, architect Domenico Fontana stumbled upon this ancient Roman city. It was a prosperous settlement, featuring public buildings and opulent private homes. In 79 AD, a thick layer of ash covered the city following the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, preserving it in time. Hundreds of Romans died from collapsing buildings, hot gas flows, and being buried under ash. Their bodies left voids in the hardened ash, which archaeologists later filled with plaster, immortalizing their final moments. Additionally, the ash and lava preserved infrastructures, objects, and frescoes of villas, providing a snapshot of life in ancient Rome. Easter Island, Chile. Dutch adventurer Jacob Roggeveen arrived at this volcanic island on an Easter Sunday in 2022. Known as Rapa Nui, it is an isolated island in the southeastern Pacific Ocean, famous for its colossal statues, the moai. These statues are believed to embody Polynesian ancestors descended from the gods. They are primarily oriented inland, looking away from the sea. By facing the villages, they convey their spiritual strength, protecting and watching over them. Rano Raraku, an extinct volcano, served as the main quarry for stone extraction. It's called the Moai Factory because numerous statues in various stages of completion can be found there. Some of the largest, which were never finished, remain embedded in the volcanic rock. Malinalco, Mexico. This archaeological zone was a significant military hub of the Mexica Empire. Eagle and Jaguar warriors, elite positions in the army, performed their initiation rituals here. The main structure was carved from a single piece of enormous rock. However, it is unknown why the Mexica chose this remote and challenging location to build such structures. It is perched on the edge of a cliff, surrounded by dense forest, Bimini Road, Bahamas. Beneath these Caribbean waters lies what was once considered the possible location of Atlantis. It was discovered in 1968 by 3 divers northwest of North Bimini Island. Stone blocks appear in an apparent linear formation. Some researchers have proposed that these are the remnants of a lost ancient civilization. However, the general consensus among most archaeologists is that they were formed by natural geological processes. Luxor and Karnak temples, Egypt. When excavations began in the 18th and 19th century, these temples had already been buried under centuries of debris. The Luxor Temple was part of Thebes, the most revered city during long periods of ancient Egypt. It was erected over hundreds of years by pharaohs, such as Amenhotep III, Ramses II, and Tutankhamun. It was the sanctuary where many of Egypt's pharaohs were crowned. Connected to the Karnak Temple by the Avenue of Sphinxes, guarded by sphinxes and ram-headed statues, is the Luxor Temple. At its peak, Karnak was the most significant temple. Its name in ancient Egypt was Ipet Izet, meaning the most select place. Its development spanned almost 2 millennia, encompassing the reigns of numerous pharaohs. Within the complex, the Hall of Columns stands out as a feat of ancient engineering, with dozens of enormous pillars arranged in rows. Terracotta warriors, China. These statues represent the army of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, designed to accompany him in the afterlife. They were discovered in 1974 near Xi'an by local farmers drilling a well in search of water. There are about 8,000 warriors, along with hundreds of horses. Each statue has unique facial features, indicating they might be based on real individuals. Borobudur, Indonesia. One of the largest Buddhist monuments in the world, constructed between the 8th and 9th centuries. Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles, the British governor of Java at the time, introduced it to the Western world in 1814. It is designed as a massive mandala, symbolizing the Buddhist universe and illustrating the path to enlightenment. The structure is built on multiple levels, with a square base crowned by a central dome. In the 14th century, Borobudur was abandoned due to the eruption of Mount Merapi, or a Javanese dynastic change. The Temple of Abydos, Egypt. This is one of the most extraordinary religious complexes of ancient Egypt, a center for the worship of Osiris and other gods. British archaeologist Flinders Petrie conducted the first excavations in the late 19th century. It contains two hypostyle halls, filled with columns supporting the roof. The reliefs are among the most meticulous from the New Kingdom era of Egypt. In one of the temple's corridors, there is the so-called helicopter hieroglyph, cited in ancient astronaut theories. However, Egyptologists believe it is a carving made over a pre-existing inscription. Temple of Edfu, Egypt. Dedicated to Horus, it is one of the best preserved temples of ancient Egypt. Its construction began during the Ptolemaic era, marked by a blend of Egyptian and Greek traditions. Over the centuries, it was buried under desert sands. Only the upper sections of the temple were visible in 1798, when it was found by a French expedition. This helped protect it from external elements, aiding in its preservation. Its walls are adorned with carvings that narrate the exploits of Horus. Tombs of the Kings of Pontus, Turkey. These are tombs from the royal necropolis of the Kingdom of Pontus. They are carved into the rock or constructed with large stone blocks, featuring facades similar to Greek or Persian temples. Some tombs are accessible by stairs, others through tunnels. They served as resting places for kings and nobility, as well as powerful symbols of the kingdom's authority. Jiaohe, China. This ancient city was the capital of the Cheshire Kingdom, a commercial stop on the Silk Road. Situated between two river valleys, which naturally defended it from invasions. The entire city, including buildings, streets, and walls, was carved into the earth. For centuries, it was a prosperous city, but it was abandoned in the 14th century after invasions by the Mongol Empire. Coba, Mexico. In this vast Yucatan jungle, one of the tallest pyramids of the Riviera Maya remained lost until 1843. Coba was one of the most important Maya city-states, with a population of around 50,000 people. It was a political rival of Chichen Itza and was influenced by Teotihuacan. Its location between two lagoons provided access to water and commercial activities. It is estimated that only a small part of this city has been unearthed, with most still buried in the jungle. Chichen Itza, Mexico. It stood out as one of the largest Maya cities. Visits began in the 1840s, and by 1892, it was still largely hidden by the jungle. This site featured the Mesoamerican ball game, one of the oldest sports. But the most iconic monument is the castle, dedicated to the god Kukulkan, the feathered serpent. It has 365 steps, corresponding to the days of the solar year. To the north is the sacred cenote, where human sacrifices and offerings of objects such as jewelry or poetry were made. Vardzia Monasteries, Georgia. An extraordinary complex of monasteries carved into the slopes of Mount Urusheti. Construction began as a fortification in the 12th century during the reign of King George III. Soviet archaeological explorations began in the 20th century, and its intricate design still holds unexplored areas. there are hidden tunnels and escape routes that allowed monks to flee from Mongol attacks. Kokare, Cambodia. In the 19th century, French explorers traversed this dense jungle, finding a unique lost city of the Khmer Empire. It was the imperial capital for a brief period under the reign of Jayavarman IV, abandoned in favor of Angkor. It is speculated that its pyramid, Prasat Thom, might have served as a temple mountain, representing Mount Meru. Unlike most Khmer temples, it is characterized by its large stepped pyramids. El Mirador, Guatemala. This site was discovered by gum collectors in 1926, though its remote location delayed study until 1962. It is immersed in the Peyton Jungle, an extensive area of Central America. Reaching it requires a journey of 4 to 6 days. The Pyramid of the Danta is one of the few buildings that rise above the jungle. Montezuma Castle, United States. Crafted by the Sinagua people, an ancient American culture. Anchored in a limestone cliff, it is estimated to date back about 1,000 years. Despite its name, it was not a castle, but a large communal dwelling that sheltered dozens of people. Pavlopetri, Greece. Off the coast of Laconia lies this ancient submerged city. Marine geologist Nicholas Fleming first discovered it in 1967. It is one of the oldest underwater cities in the world, dating back 5,000 years. It became inundated over time due to disasters like earthquakes and rising sea levels. Its design reveals a well-organized society, with delineated streets, residential areas, and likely a water management system. Bent Pyramid, Egypt. Built by Pharaoh Sneferu, father of Khufu, it is recognized for its unusual shape. The lower part of the pyramid has an angle of about 54 degrees, changing to around 43 degrees at the top. This was likely a correction of the original design, an experiment in pyramid construction. Inside, it has a complex structure, with entrances, passages, and chambers. Cave of the Hands, Argentina. These paintings, dating back between 9 and 13,000 years old, are considered some of the oldest creations of prehistoric art. They were found in 1876 by Francisco Pascagio Moreno, a frequent explorer of Patagonia. Located in a remote area, in a deep canyon, which perhaps aided in their preservation. The most common technique involved pressing the hand against the wall and then blowing pigment around it. Tulum, Mexico. This southeastern Mexican site contains some of the country's most spectacular ruins. It is one of the few Maya cities founded right on the coast, with views of the Caribbean Sea. The main structure, El Castillo, is situated on the edge of the cliff, serving both as a temple and a lighthouse for Maya navigators. Troy, Turkey. Recognized as the setting of the Iliad, Homer's Greek epic. It was long thought to be a mythical city, like Atlantis or El Dorado, until German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann discovered it in 1870. Troy was a significant center in antiquity, having a decisive impact on trade and cultural networks between Asia and Europe. Over 4,000 years, it underwent repeated destructions and reconstructions, each built upon the ruins of its previous versions. Akrotiri, Greece. This prehistoric town is sometimes linked to myths of apocalyptic destruction. It was inhabited about 6,000 years ago, being one of the settlements of the Minoan civilization. Around 3,600 years ago, a massive eruption of the Santorini volcano destroyed it, now associated with Atlantis. the ash preserved it intact, safeguarding objects, houses, and frescoes. Persepolis, Iran. Excavated since 1930, it was the capital of the Persian Empire. Its art and architecture display a blend of Assyrian, Egyptian, and Median influences. The Gate of All Nations, the main entrance, was guarded by gigantic winged bulls. The grand palaces featured meticulous reliefs, with images of banquets and processions. A fire ravaged the city after Alexander the Great's arrival, leaving it uncertain whether it was an accident or an act of revenge. Nakhchiravstan, Iran. Near Persepolis, it contains a series of tombs of Persian kings. They are carved into the rock face, resembling the facade of a palace. The base features reliefs illustrating scenes of military victories. Next to the tombs, there is a tower-like structure called the Kabaya Zartosht, whose function remains unknown. Uxmal, Mexico. When the first European, Diego de Landa, arrived in the 16th century, this city was already deserted. It is believed to have been founded by the Maya Xios tribe about 1,500 years ago. The Pyramid of the Magician stands out with its unusual oval shape, differing from the typical square structure of Maya pyramids. Legend has it that a dwarf, the son of a witch, built the pyramid and proclaimed himself governor of the city. Kazarnica Cave, Bulgaria. Discovered in 1984, this cave was used as a shelter by prehistoric hunters. Dating back over 1 million years, it is one of the oldest human occupation sites in the world. It is one of the points through which early hominids migrated from Africa to Europe. For hundreds of thousands of years, it was used by multiple species, including Neanderthals, Homo erectus, and Homo habilis. Tombs of Kaunos, Turkey. Part of the ruins of the city of Kaunos, dating back nearly 3,000 years. The king's tombs, the largest and most elaborate, are located on the cliffs. They are designed to replicate the appearance of classical Greek temples. Hajarim, Malta. Amazed Maltese historian Giovanni Francesco Abela wrote in 1647 that these ruins show the first inhabitants of Malta were giants. At about 5,400 years old, it is one of the world's oldest prehistoric monuments. The arrangement of the temple elements aligned with solar events demonstrates an advanced knowledge of astronomy. The enormous and heavy stones demonstrate the engineering skills of its builders. However, the fate of the civilization that erected these monuments remains unknown, as no human remains have been found. Mycenae, Greece. It served as the center of Mycenaean culture, which preceded classical Greece. Rediscovered by German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann in 1876, who also excavated the city of Troy. Mycenae was assumed to be a mythical city, but Schliemann believed the accounts were based on historical facts. These ruins are unique for their monumental architecture. Its massive walls were called Cyclopean because it was believed that only the legendary Cyclops could have built them. Outside the ruins lies the treasury of Atreus, a tomb attributed to King Agamemnon. Deir el-Medina, Egypt. This was one of the villages of the workers who built the tombs in the Valley of the Kings. It had humble houses, workshops, and a temple dedicated to the gods. The hieroglyphs, carvings, and paintings revealed details about the daily life of an Egyptian worker community. They were skilled artisans, capable of creating artworks for the pharaoh's tombs. The village had a legal system, with a local court formed by elders. It is known that the workers of Deir el-Medina went on strike, possibly the first recorded in history. Great Sphinx of Giza, Egypt. Over millennia, this statue was partially buried until it was excavated in several attempts. Located next to the pyramids of Giza, It is the largest monolithic statue in the world, carved directly from limestone. It embodies a mythical creature with the body of a lion and the head of a human, combining strength and wisdom. The reason for its construction is still debated, with theories ranging from it being a spiritual guardian to a portrait of Pharaoh Khafra. Temple of Hatshepsut, Egypt. Discovered in 1737 by British explorer Richard Pocock. Dedicated to Hatshepsut, one of the few female pharaohs of ancient Egypt. It is carved into the rock cliffs of Deir el-Bahari. It features 3 terraced levels connected by long ramps. Accompanied by columns and statues of Osiris. The reliefs depict Hatshepsut's achievements, her divinity, and her relationship with the gods. Dinosaur National Monument, United States. Discovered in 1909 by American paleontologist Earl Douglas, who found an abundant collection of fossilized dinosaur bones. In addition to fossils, this area showcases rock art from the Fremont people, who lived here about 1,000 years ago. There are stylized human figures, interpreted as mythical beings or ancestors. Others symbolize spiritual totems or are part of more complex mythologies. Palenque, Mexico. This ancient Maya city is located in the dense jungle of Chiapas. It was discovered by a priest in 1745. But by the late 19th century, it was still almost engulfed by the jungle. It consisted of palaces, temples, and residential dwellings. Under the Temple of the Inscriptions, one of the most astonishing discoveries in the history of archaeology was made. In 1952, archaeologist Alberto Ruiz Luye discovered a jade funerary mask of King Pakal. It replicates the original face of the Maya king Pakal the Great, who ruled for 68 years. However, Palenque's location in the tropical jungle hindered research. It is believed that dozens of buildings are still to be discovered, hidden beneath the vegetation. Ollantaytambo, Peru. This is an ancient Inca town with cobblestone streets, a fortress, a temple, and agricultural terraces. It was designed for both military purposes and religious rituals. The agricultural terraces optimized land use for cultivation. In this mountainous and rugged environment, they were essential for supplying food to a large population. On the mountain slopes surrounding the valley, there are storage buildings called colcas. The high altitude creates a cooler environment, better for preserving food. Wat Banan, Cambodia. When Henry Muhat, the explorer who rediscovered Angkor Wat, visited this temple, he found numerous Buddha sculptures. It is situated atop a hill, surrounded by lush rice fields. Its towers display classic Khmer architectural style, with elements reminiscent of the Angkor era. Dara, Turkey. It was a prominent fortified city of the Eastern Roman Empire. Built to protect the empire from Persian invasions. Despite being reinforced, it faced several sieges and changed hands multiple times. It was conquered in 639 and gradually abandoned over time. Uplistike, Georgia. These are the oldest Georgian urban settlements with around 4,000 years of human presence. At its peak, it served as a political center of the Kingdom of Kartli, one of the predecessors of the Georgian state. Its architecture combines natural and man-made elements with dwellings and pagan temples, connected by sidewalks and tunnels. Being situated on a rocky mountain next to the Mikvari River provided a natural defense. The Christian basilica atop the complex is more recent, having begun in the 19th century. Moklos, Greece. Since 1908, this small island has been excavated, revealing a Minoan city in ruins. It was populated about 5,100 years ago, making it one of the largest Minoan settlements of the Copper Age. Today, it is an island, but in the past it was connected to the mainland, becoming isolated due to rising sea levels or geological activity. Unfinished obelisk of Aswan, Egypt. This obelisk reveals the techniques used by ancient Egyptians to carve and transport such immense structures. It was first located by French archaeologist Auguste Mariette in the late 19th century. If completed, it would have been the largest stone piece ever manipulated by the ancient Egyptians. However, work was abandoned when cracks were detected in the granite during the carving process. Uffington Whitehorse, United Kingdom. This prehistoric figure is estimated to be about 3,500 years old. The first documented reference to the site is in the medieval Welsh literature. It is speculated to symbolize a tribal emblem or a solar horse, linked to ancient myths about the sun crossing the sky. A traditional ceremony has preserved its visibility, ensuring the horse does not become covered with grass. Perperikon, Bulgaria. An ancient Thracian city in the Rhodope Mountains, rediscovered by archaeologists between 1979 and 1982. It has been inhabited since the Bronze Age, 7,000 years ago, until the 14th century. It is believed to have housed the Temple of Dionysus, where the conquests of Alexander the Great were prophesied. Prambanan Temple, Indonesia. After centuries of abandonment, a Dutch explorer rediscovered it in 1733, and it has been gradually restored over decades. It was built under the reign of the Hindu Sanjaya dynasty, possibly in response to the nearby Buddhist temple of Borobudur. It is dedicated to the three main Hindu gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. According to legend, a Javanese princess asked a prince to build 1,000 temples in one night as a condition for marriage. The prince, aided by magical beings, built 999 temples. Even so, the princess rejected him, and the prince, in anger, transformed her into the final one. Moray, Peru. During an expedition in 1932, these terraces were spotted beneath dense vegetation. They are considered an Incan experimental center for adapting plants to various climatic conditions. It likely served as a model for calculating agricultural production in village terraces. Each terrace is oriented to optimize sunlight capture and properly conserve water. Huehuilco, Mexico. This circular pyramid, dating back about 2,500 years, is one of the oldest structures in North America. It emerged as one of the first major civic and religious centers in this region of Mexico, influencing subsequent populations. A 1,000 years ago, the Chitle volcano erupted, covering the city with lava, which was rediscovered centuries later in the 1920s. Pyramid of Djoser, Egypt. As the first step pyramid, it set the design for future Egyptian pyramids. Designed by architect Imhotep, who aimed to symbolize a staircase to the heavens. It integrates a funerary complex containing temples, courtyards, and other tombs, all surrounded by a wall. Beneath the pyramid extends a network of tunnels, along with a central burial chamber. Palmyra, Syria. Exploration of this ancient city began in 1691 with an expedition of British merchants who had heard stories of ruins in the desert. Originating 5,000 years ago as a modest settlement, it expanded into a city of over 200,000 inhabitants. For centuries, it established itself as a vital center for caravans traversing the Silk Road. This enabled its inhabitants to become wealthy and undertake monumental projects. Ephesus, Turkey. was one of the great cities of the Roman Empire, home to the Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It declined in the early Middle Ages, became uninhabited by the 14th century, and was rediscovered in the 1860s. The Library of Chalcis, among the largest in antiquity, was created to hold more than 12,000 scrolls. The Great Theatre, with a capacity of 25,000 spectators, was the venue for theatrical performances and gladiatorial combats. Hattusa, Turkey. Like others, this city was thought to be mythical, until its discovery in 1834. It was established as the capital of the Hittite Empire, one of the great powers of the ancient Near East. It featured large walls to defend against enemies, like the Egyptians, Assyrians, or nomadic groups. The fortified gates, such as the Sphinx Gate, served as checkpoints and access points. Knossos, Greece. It was the capital of the Minoan civilization, unearthed in 1878 by a Cretan explorer. It is associated with the Greek myth of Theseus and the Minotaur, a monster with a human body and a bull's head. King Minos commissioned the construction of a labyrinth to imprison it, the Palace of Knossos. It has more than 1,000 rooms connected by corridors of various sizes. The walls were decorated with colorful frescoes, depicting scenes of daily life. Medinat Habu, Egypt. Until 1850, the desert sands had largely buried this temple complex. Despite its various structures, the site is associated with the mortuary temple of Ramses III. Several of the sanctuary's reliefs still retain their original colors. The walls are covered with carvings of military campaigns and daily scenes of Ramses III. It features some of the most elaborate reliefs of the Sea Peoples, mysterious maritime invaders who fought against the pharaoh. Mesa Verde National Park, United States. The first evidence of these archaeological treasures emerged in 1874, when William Henry Jackson observed cliff dwellings. They were created by ancient communities and natural niches within the canyon walls. The largest construction is Cliff Palace, with more than 150 rooms. Aramu Muru Portal, Peru. During a 1990 expedition, a mountaineer found a smoothed stone with a strange door. A legend tells of an Inca priest using it to disappear from this world, taking a valuable piece of gold. However, the explanation might be much more mundane. It was possibly an Inca work that was started but never completed. Yasha, Guatemala. After Tikal and El Mirador, it is the third largest Maya complex in Guatemala, with more than 500 structures. It was rediscovered in 1904 by the Italo-Austro-German explorer Teoberto Mahler. Yasha means green-blue water in Maya, referring to the vivid colors of the lakes. It is located within the Yasha Nakam Naranjo National Park, a refuge for numerous bird and mammal species. Mogao Caves, China. A system of caves with Buddhist temples filled with statues and murals. They were discovered in 1900 by a Taoist monk named Wang Yuanlu, who appointed himself caretaker of the caves. While cleaning, Wang found a sealed cave, filled with manuscripts, silk paintings, textiles, and other relics. The art in these caves combines influences from India, Persia, and Greece with Chinese cultural elements. Ancient Thera, Greece. The ancient city is perched on the crest of Mesa Vauno Mountain on the Greek island of Santorini. It was established by Theras, a Spartan ruler, likely chosen for its utility as a military lookout. Most inhabitants lived on the plateau at the summit, while Spartan officers resided in houses on the slopes, overlooking the sea. Chimalacatlan, Mexico. The difficult accessibility of this ancient city, located among high mountains, has hindered its study. It was discovered by a priest in 1890, and although it is not known exactly which culture built it, it has similarities to Olmec sites. It featured temples, plazas, and ballgame courts. Some of its megalithic platforms utilize enormous stone blocks. Sondor, Peru. This sanctuary was constructed by the Chanca culture, which dominated the region for about 2,000 years until being conquered by the Incas in the 15th century. Muyu Muyu is the main structure, pyramid-shaped and consisting of several levels. Each platform is connected by a staircase of hundreds of steps, culminating in a circular space. It is postulated that sacrifices or sun worship rituals were performed at the top. Maiden Castle, United Kingdom. Despite its name, it is not a castle, but a Neolithic fortified settlement dating back about 6,000 years. In the Iron Age, it was transformed into a residential and iron production center. After the Roman conquest, it was used for agriculture until it was abandoned. Augustus Pitt Rivers pioneered investigations here, but Mortimer Wheeler conducted more detailed excavations starting in 1934. Olympus, Turkey. The ruins of this ancient city lie in a valley between the Mediterranean Sea and the Taurus Mountains. It was a member of the Lycian League, one of the first democratic alliances of city-states. In the past, it was a haven for pirates, which increased its wealth but also exposed it to Roman control. Nearby are the Yanartas, natural fires on Mount Chimera. This phenomenon is caused by the combustion of natural gas seeping through cracks, burning for millennia. Harappa, Pakistan. This was one of the key cities in the Indus Valley civilization. It was one of the world's oldest urban cultures, dating back about 4,600 years. The Harappan script, found on various artifacts, remains undeciphered, preventing a full understanding of the culture. However, it is known to have been a peaceful society, skilled in metallurgy. Skara Brae, United Kingdom. Located on the island of Mainland, this settlement is one of the best preserved Neolithic sites in Europe. It was discovered in 1850 when a severe storm hit the island and stripped the grass from a large dune. It is estimated to have been occupied around 5,200 years ago. Having been buried under sand for millennia, it maintains an extraordinary level of preservation with details of Neolithic life. Hampi, India. In 1800, British Colonel Colin Mackenzie explored the ruins of this city. It was the capital of the Vijayanagara Empire from 1336 until 1565, when it was abandoned due to wars and looting. By the year 1500, it was the second largest city in the world, after Beijing, and the richest in India. The most magnificent monument in Hampi is the Vitala Temple. It contains a stone chariot dedicated to the god Garuda, pulled by 2 elephants and supported by 2 giant wheels. Tula, Mexico. It was the capital of the Toltecs, a Mesoamerican civilization that flourished between the 9th and 12th centuries. In 1885, French archaeologist Désiré Charnay described it in his work Ancient Cities of the New World. The most emblematic figures of Tula are the Atlanteans, enormous stone warriors. Originally, they functioned as columns, supporting the roof of a temple or palace. Altamira Caves, Spain. A Spanish naturalist and his daughter discovered these caves in 1879, with prehistoric art dating back about 14,000 years. The findings were so surprising that experts initially did not consider them to be real. Due to their beauty, these works have been dubbed the Sistine Chapel of Paleolithic art. It has been proposed that these animals served a ritual purpose, perhaps related to hunting. Ziggurat of Ur, Iraq. This ancient terraced monument was erected by the ancient Sumerians. It consists of a multi-level structure with ascending staircases leading to the top, where a temple was located. It was used as a religious center honoring Nana, the moon god, one of the deities in the Sumerian pantheon. Ayutthaya, Thailand. It served as the capital of the Kingdom of Siam from 1350 until it was destroyed by the Burmese army in 1767. Designed with a complex urban plan, it featured numerous temples, palaces, and towers in traditional Thai style. It hosted communities of foreigners, including Portuguese, Japanese, and French, who had their own districts. For several centuries, it maintained its independence against invasion attempts. However, after wars with Burma, it was left in ruins. A Danish traveler described it in 1770 as overgrown with vegetation and inhabited by elephants and tigers. Jaibar, Saudi Arabia. This was a fortified oasis in a harsh desert landscape. The territory was coveted for its fertile soil and position on a trade route. Until the 7th century, it was inhabited by Arab Jewish tribes, and later by Muslims. Knowth and Newgrange, Ireland. Discovered in 1713 and 1622 respectively, these megalithic monuments are over 5,000 years old. Knowth, the largest collection of megalithic art in Western Europe, consists of a large tomb surrounded by smaller ones. Nearby is Newgrange, a burial and ceremonial site aligned with the winter solstice. It is believed that a stable community, capable of transporting large stones from afar, built this site. Sui Tep, Thailand. From the 3rd to the 5th century, it was one of the largest cities in central Thailand, abandoned with the rise of more prosperous cities. Prince Damrong Rajanahab rediscovered it during his 1904 expedition to Phetchabun province. Khao Kling Nok, the city's most prominent monument, served as the religious center of the Dvaravati kingdom. Medina Azahara, Spain. Established as a symbol of the power of the Caliphate of Cordoba, a Muslim state that dominated much of present-day Spain. The caliphs of the time had a tradition of building dynastic cities to display power. After succession wars in the 11th century, it was destroyed and looted, remaining buried for centuries until its discovery in the 19th century. It is one of the most original sites of Islamic art, with its design remaining unaltered. Ajanta Caves, India. Covered by the jungle, they were accidentally found in 1819 by British officer John Smith while hunting tigers. They were used as a retreat by Buddhist monks for performing rituals and living during the monsoon periods. They house frescoes and sculptures of Buddhist art that tell stories of the life of Buddha. Lanza Meadows, Canada. These are the remains of an 11th century Viking settlement, the earliest evidence of Europeans in North America. The buildings are consistent with those found in Iceland and Greenland, made of rocks, wood, and turf roofs. It was discovered in 1960 by Norwegian explorers who believed the Norse sagas recounted real voyages. Caral, Peru. It was the center of the oldest civilization in the Americas, around 4,000 years old, the cradle of Andean cultures. Excavations led by the German archaeologist Max Uhle began in 1905 and continued for decades. Similar to those of other civilizations, the pyramids of Caral feature rectangular bases and terraced sides. They are considered ceremonial centers for performing rituals and making offerings. Utrint, Albania. A city inhabited for about 3,000 years, located on the Strait of Corfu and surrounded by a lagoon. It was occupied by Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Normans, Venetians, and Ottomans. According to myth, it was founded after the fall of Troy and was called Little Troy. In the Middle Ages, it was abandoned due to the area becoming swampy and was rediscovered in 1928 by Italian archaeologists. Borsippa, Iraq. Near Babylon, this Mesopotamian city was one of the most influential in antiquity. The most visible feature today is its ziggurat, dedicated to Nabu, the god of wisdom. For a time, some archaeologists mistook it for the Tower of Babel. Timgad, Algeria. Founded by the Roman Emperor Trajan, it was designed as a perfect square. It was discovered by the Scottish explorer James Bruce in 1765 during his journey through Africa in search of the sources of the Nile. It housed one of the few known public libraries of the Roman world. After becoming uninhabited in the 7th century, it was quickly covered by desert sand, which contributed to its preservation. Hatra, Iraq. It flourished about 2,200 years ago as the capital of an Arab kingdom. It withstood unsuccessful Roman attempts at conquest under Emperors Trajan and Septimius Severus. A defensive wall surrounded it, making it nearly impregnable. Due to its isolated location, it fell into obscurity and was not excavated until the 20th century. Cahokia, United States. Established around 1,200 years ago, it became the largest urban settlement of the Mississippian culture. At its peak, it may have had a population of between 10,000 and 20,000, one of the largest in the world at the time. Monk's Mound, the largest mound, was built over several centuries and is believed to have had a temple on top. Masada, Israel. A fortress built by Hasmonean king Alexander Janus and fortified by Herod the Great. Located on top of a mountain in the Judean desert, near the western edge of the Dead Sea. To reach the summit, one must take a cable car. Being so remote, it remained undisturbed for 13 centuries, until its discovery in 1828. It had a system that captured rainwater in cisterns, allowing survival in this harsh climate. Herod, a king known for monumental projects, founded 2 luxurious palaces. Due to its strategic position, it was surrounded by a wall and watchtowers. Megiddo, Israel. Inhabited since the Neolithic and mentioned by the Egyptians, this city was an important center in antiquity. German engineer Gottlieb Schumacher led the first excavations in 1903. It has been a site of military conflicts throughout history, from Egyptian battles to the Crusades. For some Christians, it is considered the place where the Battle of Armageddon will occur before the second coming of Jesus. Babylon, Iraq. Original remains of this city still exist, although much of it has been restored. It served as an administrative center of multiple Babylonian dynasties, reaching its greatest glory under Nebuchadnezzar II. It is said that this king built the Hanging Gardens of Babylon to please his wife, who missed her homeland. There is also speculation that the Edamanonki, one of the ziggurats in the city, corresponded to the mythical Tower of Babel. Jericho, Palestine. Upon his arrival in 1659, French traveler Laurent d'Orveau described it as a desolate and deteriorated area. With a history spanning over 10,000 years, this city is considered one of the oldest in the world. It holds a prominent place in Abrahamic religions due to the story of its walls falling to the Israelites. Capernaum, Israel. Rediscovered in 1838 by American explorer Edward Robinson, it was a fishing village from the Hasmonean era. As the Gospels recount, after leaving Nazareth, Jesus made Capernaum the center of his teachings. The New Testament mentions that Jesus spent much of his life here, teaching in the local synagogue and performing miracles. Ani, Turkey. This city was the capital of the medieval Armenian kingdom of the Bagratids. At its peak, it rivaled cities like Constantinople and Cairo. Its sturdy walls were constructed to safeguard its riches, with some sections still standing. Due to invasions, earthquakes, and changes in trade routes, it eventually became deserted. Ekbalam, Mexico. French explorer Désiré Charnay is credited as the first to arrive in 1886. It was a prosperous city with an estimated population between 12,000 and 18,000 inhabitants. Its founding is attributed to Ekbalem or Kokau Balam, a leader who came from the east and ruled for the first 40 years. At its height, the ancient citadel featured murals, stelae, imperial palaces, and defensive walls. Chocchoban, Mexico. In the Mayan language, it means the place of red corn. Discovered in 1972 by American archaeologist Peter Harrison. It is thought to have been a center for religious rituals, as evidenced by the layout of its temples and plazas. What is visible today is only a fraction of its actual size, as much of it remains under the dense jungle. Tanum carvings, Sweden. This site is one of the largest collections of rock carvings in Europe. Studied since the 1930s, the carvings reveal details about the life and beliefs of Bronze Age peoples in Scandinavia. There are figures of humans, animals, ships, and various symbols associated with rituals. One of the most recurrent motifs is the ship, highlighting the importance of the sea for these communities. Humans are often depicted in activities such as dances or battles. Chaltún, Mexico. This city might have had up to 25,000 inhabitants, making it one of the most populous Maya urban centers. It was occupied from about 2,500 years ago until the colonial period in the 16th century. The main structure, the Temple of the Seven Dolls, is named after the figurines found inside it in the 1950s. Nacum, Guatemala. Located in the Holmul River Basin, it is among other archaeological sites like Xiascha. It was discovered by French Count Maurice de Perigny in 1905. It features a large pyramid and a group of residences with architectural elements inspired by Tikal. archaeological site of Santa Fe, Spain. This is an ancient fortified Iron Age settlement. Discovered in 1969 by a city council employee exploring the area. It occupies the summit of a mountain, making it nearly impregnable. The settlement was arranged in terraces, with a stepped appearance, connected by streets. Lochnabulia, Ireland. Excavated by Irish archaeologists during 1939 and 1940, it was identified as a 9th century fort. It was constructed using dry stone, a common technique in the region's fortresses. Archaeological findings indicate that the community relied on agriculture, supplemented by livestock raising. Hatzor, Israel. During the Bronze and Iron Ages, it was one of the largest Canaanite sites. It is mentioned in the Bible as one of the places Joshua conquered. It is also known for its connection to King Solomon, who, according to the Bible, fortified the city. Excavations have revealed parts of the Canaanite palace and an extensive fortification system. Avdat, Israel. Originally a prosperous Nabatean city, it later belonged to the Byzantine and Islamic empires. It served as a station on the incense caravan route from Petra. The archaeological complex includes a temple dedicated to Nabatean king Obodas and Byzantine churches. In the 7th century, it was devastated by an earthquake and subsequently abandoned. Nuragic complex of Saruci, Italy. This site belongs to the Nuragic culture, which flourished during the Bronze Age in Sardinia and Corsica. The central element is the nurga, surrounded by secondary towers and rooms. It was used as a dwelling and for the community's religious activities. El Tajín, Mexico. Its existence became known in 1785 during a search for illegal agricultural plantations. The culture of El Tajín is how historians refer to its creators. The most significant monument is the Pyramid of the Niches, believed to have served astronomical purposes. It has a square base, composed of 6 terraces. Tazumal, El Salvador. This was a ceremonial center for the Maya and Nahua excavated in the 1940s. The buildings were covered in soil, forming a mound covered with trees. Since the year 100, the pyramid, known as B11, has undergone various construction phases. Dozens of tombs with jewelry have been found here, suggesting they belonged to the nobility. Templo Mayor, Mexico. Discovered in 1978 at the heart of Mexico City, it was the religious center of the Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Mexica Empire. In the 15th century, this city was the largest in the Americas, with more than 200,000 inhabitants. The Templo Mayor was where religious festivals were held, new kings were appointed, and sacrifices were made. This journey through the vestiges of our ancestors has come to an end, but the quest for knowledge is eternal. The ruins we have explored are not mere stones, but voices from ancient eras, inviting us to reflect and admire. We part with the commitment to return and unveil new wonders that await discovery in remote corners of our planet.